Hello everyone, the 1994 European leg of the Formula 1 season is about to kick off as we land down here at Donington Park for the third round of the 1994 Formula 1 World Championship. This track has only hosted one race, which was last year, and that race was won by Ayrton Senna, who is currently a championship leader. However, this is one of the two home races for Williams this year, so let's see if they can capitalise on it today. Let's check out some of the news that has surrounded the paddock the last couple of weeks. You'd be forgiven last week for saying that there was a bit of turmoil between both Williams drivers after the lap 1 collision they had last week. Despite the possible animosity between the two drivers, Frank Williams has gone out to say that both drivers can race, quote, within the limits, unquote. What this means, we'll just have to wait and see though. Whilst both Williams scrolled for position, this allowed Ayrton Senna to take a lead that he would not give up for the remainder of the race, as the McLaren driver won out on our top list and now leads the championship by a total of 2 points over Riccardo Patrese. He'll try and keep the lead this week by any means necessary, but with the power of the Williams drivers, that seems very unlikely. Finally, Alio's Shock DNQ on our top list paved the way for David Coulthard to take the Pacific onto the grid for the start of the race. He only lasted 10 laps due to an engine failure, however, but the Pacific team is still over the moon over actually making the grid in itself, saying that it actually gives the team good analytical data to look over should they actually make it back onto the grid for any of the remaining races this season. Whatever the case, Pacific are really happy to just be qualifying for races, and especially this early on. The European Grand Prix also showcases the first of the many team's upgrades this season. Ligier bring improved reliability to hopefully stop the amount of DNFs they've had this season. Ferrari bring an improved rear wing, hoping to improve drag and therefore make their cars a little bit faster. And Benetton are also hoping for the same benefits, just with the front wing instead of the rear wing, as they hope to get a little bit closer to Williams as the season progresses. And with you now all caught up, let's go for a hot lap around Donington Park, courtesy of myself for the third time. Coming out of Goddard's now to start the lap. This is a relatively short straight in the grand scheme of things, but the recross straight is no mean straight at all. Coming into Redgate now, you need to extend the track as much as you can to make, and then don't quite hit the apex now. Down through the crater curve to turn 2 and 3, get as close as you can to the apex, as close as you can to the apexes, and then through the quote old hairpin, because that was where the old hairpin was on the old track. Through turn 5 now, underneath Starkey's bridge, into turn 6 now, keep as wide as you can from McLean's, make sure to clip the second apex you see there, and now it's up to Coppice, make sure you stay again wide on the apex, hit the first apex, one wide on the second as much as you can, and then it's a long straight underneath the Dunlop Bridge, of Donington that is, not Le Mans, brake roughly about the 75 meter board, except there is none, through the S's now, which is actually a chicane, and now down another long straight now, into the now Melbourne hairpin, which is an interesting hairpin, because it's not really a normal one in track width, it kind of cuts off like a square, so either way, enough rambling on about that. The pushing Goddard's now go wide on the entry as much as you can, hawk the inside of the hairpin, and then as you exit Goddard's, get your throttle firmly pinned on the throttle as you come up across the line. That lap time I set for myself was a 1 minute 12.6. Now how did the other drivers fare? Well, there's only one way to find out, and that's see the qualifying order. Here's the starting grid for the 94 European Grand Prix. Riccardo Patrese takes his second pole position of the season, and lining up alongside him is his teammate Damon Hill, roughly about 3 to 4 tenths behind him. Row 2 behind the two Williams consists of Michael Schumacher getting the edge over Ayrton Senna this time around, who lines up 4th place. Their teammates of Martin Brundle and Johnny Herbert line up in P5 and P6 respectively, with both Ferraris of John Alesi and Gerhard Berger once again running out row 4, and again rounding out the top 10, a lot of against this time, JJ Leto and Lupe Panis, both Ligiers, block out the 5th row of the grid. Mika Hakkinen did well enough in his Lotus to qualify 11th, and he lines up alongside Carl Wendlinger, who is the fastest of the Jordan Harts. Heinz Albert Fenton is the fastest of the Sauber Ilmos, beating his experienced teammate Roberto Moreno impressively, with Barrichello lining up 14th. Speaking of Moreno, there he is in P15, smack dab in the middle of the field, and alongside him are the two footworks of Yuri Suzuki and Christian Fittipaldi. Petro Lamy can only line up 18th, about a second slower than his teammate of Hakkinen, and ends to two Minardi's of Morbidelli and Badoro rounding out the top 20. Ukyo Kariyama managed to qualify well in his tail this time around, with both Peugeots of Eric Bernard and Thierry Boutin lining up behind them. 24th place for Christophe Beauchou, and Philippe Ayot actually makes it onto the grid this time as he lines up 25th. However, David Coulthard has qualified again in Pacific, so who is the odd one out in this bottom four? Well, Verstappen is 27th and present qualifying from him, Joe DeVerne is 28th, Mark Blundell after a brilliant qualifying can only line up 29th, and Roland Ratzenberger rounds up top 30. And with the grid now thoroughly run down, all that's left to do is to get all 5 lights on and extinguish them as we begin the 1994 European Grand Prix. It's a good start from everyone there. Riccardo Patrese under threat from Damon Hill, but he will hold on into turn 1 as Riccardo Patrese still leads after turn 1. Look, Schumacher trying to battle with Senna there, but I think Senna will not be able to get the move done. And yes, Schumacher will stay in third while Ayrton Senna remains in 4th place. Meanwhile, in the background, I see a couple of cars fighting in there, and here's one of them now, Christian Fittipaldi making a move on Aguri Suzuki. Fittipaldi now up to 16th place in the battle between the footwork cars. Meanwhile, here's Gerhard Berger sending it up the inside of John O'Lacey. A brilliant move from the Ferrari driver. However, he still needs one more place to get into the points paying positions as he currently lies within 7th place. Meanwhile, Heinz out of the French, I'm looking for a move there on Olivier Panis, I think he is. He's going to try and do it into one of the couple of chicanes around the track. He's not going to be able to do it, but he's hung around the outside here. He could actually get the move done into the next hairpin zone here. And Roberto Moreno's also looking at the background. I think he's just passed one of the Jordans as well. Will Ligier be able to hold on a little bit of wobble out of the final corner? Not final corner. But Frenton is indeed able to take the place away from Olivier Panis, and so too is Roberto Moreno as he sends it up the inside into the final hairpin. And it's now both Saubers now looking to fight each other. Moreno looking to grab 11th place away from Frenton here. Will he be able to do it into turn 1? He's not going to try. Never mind. He is looking for the move inside into turn 1, and Moreno can get place on Heinz Frenton, and that's Moreno up into 11th place. A brilliant first lap from both Sauber's drivers. Meanwhile, Letter and Hakkinen are now fighting with each other for P9. They're going to try and squeeze 2 cars in between this corner, and they've somehow managed to do that without making any sort of contact. But JJ Letter will hold on to 9th place as it sounds right now, but he's been put under immense pressure from Mika Hakkinen. Let's see how long he can hold on to P9. Meanwhile, further back, there's Gianni Morbidelli now looking for a move up the inside of Aguri Suzuki into the last hairpin. And I think he's just going to be able to do it. Gianni Morbidelli now up into 17th for the Minardi driver. And let's see if he can set his sights on P16. Meanwhile, Olivier Panis is reportedly going for a 0 stop in this race, which was allowed back in the day, but he's going to be really, really slow, as we'll soon find out, as Christian Fittipaldi now passes him into P14. Panis will probably suffer a lot throughout this race. Meanwhile, further up at the front, Michael Schumacher holding off a charge there from Ayrton Senna. Oh, and Schumacher's off actually. I don't know what's happened with him. Has he had a suspension failure? I think he has. I think that's Michael Schumacher now out of the Grand Prix. Let's see what happened here. And I think it is indeed a suspension failure for Michael Schumacher going into the corner. I think he'll be okay after that incident, but it won't do his championship any favours. Here's Pedro Lamy now in the meantime, going for a move down Rubens Barrichello. He's going to make it stick, except his suspension also says no as well. And now Pedro Lamy is now out of the Grand Prix as well. A lot of action, and we're only now on lap 10, so let's take a race classification check to see where everyone else is. There's your top 6 as it stands right now. Riccardo Patrese has remained completely unmatched from Damon Hill, and there's the second page right there. JJ Leto doing well enough in his Luigi, and Mika Hakkinen making up a couple of spots as well. Olivier Panis, meanwhile, is still stuck in 15th place, so the sail stop is not really working out for him as much as he thought. Not much else to say other than David Coulthard is still in this race, and the 2 retirements are the ones that have just gone through just there of Pedro Lamy and Michael Schumacher. And there's a reason why Damon Hill was unable to match Riccardo Patrese, as he was doing a 3-stop, and as a result of that he'll come out of the pits in P6 and will need to make at least 2 more pit stops. And I think that, yes, that is David Coulthard out yet again early in the running. The Pacific is not really good with reliability as it turns out. Meanwhile, Damon Hill now assumes the lead of the race, but the gap to Ayrton Senna now behind him is less than a second. You can see him up the road now from Senna's onboard camera. This race could still get pretty spicy, I'll tell you that much. We focus now on Aguri Suzuki. He's looking to try and make a move on, I believe that's Gianni Morbidelli up in front. And he's now Morbidelli's actually trying to make a move on Luque Panis. I don't think he's going to make it work, but this presents a brilliant opportunity for Aguri Suzuki, and he's going to take both of them into the final hairpin, and he'll move up 2 places in a single move, and he gets himself up into P16, a fantastic move for the Japanese driver. Meanwhile, it's Williams versus McLaren, but this is not for the lead. This is for P3 as Riccardo Patrese now sends it up the inside for Johnny Herbert. And I think he'll just about clear off the corner. Yes, he does. Riccardo Patrese now assumes P3. And I'm surprised Johnny Herbert didn't go for a move back in there. Meanwhile, here's Aguri Suzuki, and he's... Oh, that's a big hit impact with the wall there for Aguri Suzuki. And Ninja Failure takes him out of the race. I just hope he's okay after that impact with the wall. Looking now to John Lacey there. He's having a good race so far. He's looking to try and get up a couple of more places. But I think there's something wrong with the Ferrari there. If we can listen to the revs there. He's stuck in gear. John Lacey is not going to be finishing this race. And as he comes into the pit, he gets collected by JJ Leto as he comes in for his scheduled pit stop. And speaking of scheduled pit stops, race leader Damon Hill is scheduled to come in, and indeed he does. He might be going for a one stop, but it depends on his pit stop as he now exits the pits now. And now the question remains, where is Ayrton Senna? Is he in front of him? Time he said so, and indeed he is, by 6.1 seconds ahead of Damon Hill. Ayrton Senna now might be in control of this race as Riccardo Patrese now pits, and he comes out in 4th place. He might not be much of a threat this time round. As we approach the halfway distance in the race, let's get ourselves a second race classification update for this race. Ayrton Senna, as discussed earlier, leads ahead of Damon Hill, but Martin Brundle now currently holds on to the last podium place as things stand right now. Meanwhile, both Jordan drivers of Brendan and Barrichello are right beside each other, as Moreno's now trying to hold off Fittipaldi there for 13th place as it stands right now. Currently only 19 drivers are still left out on track, with Badoa, Alesi, Boschut, Suzuki and David Coulthard having been new additions to the people who have DNF so far in this race. Lap 45 now, and Senna is approaching lapped traffic. Specifically, I think that's Berger trying to lap one of the Saubers. I think that might be Prenson. This might present an opportunity for Damon Hill to go up the inside there, but he's a bit too far back. He's going to try and make the move stick. He's got it alongside now with Senna. Is he going to make the move stick from that far back? I don't think he's going to be able to. Senna now has the inside line for the next corner, and indeed Senna will just about hold on to first place as it stands right now. But Damon Hill is right on his back. But unexpectedly, a couple of laps later, it's Patrese now, all of a sudden on the back of Damon Hill. And Damon Hill was also actually scheduled to pit on this lap anyways. So that now gives P2 to not Damon Hill, Riccardo Patrese as Damon Hill pits. Excuse me for mixing my words up. But Patrese might actually be a threat, which is not what I would have expected from a 3-stopper. And there's Senna now into the pits for his second and final stop of the race. Well, this put him out on track. We'll see now as he does indeed get clean air, but Riccardo Patrese will be scheduled to pit on lap 58, and it is now lap 58. Where is Riccardo Patrese? There he is on pit exit. Will Ayrton Senna make the move on the inside? Yes, he will. And there are no more pit stops in between these two drivers, which means it's a flat-out brawl between Ayrton Senna and Riccardo Patrese for the win here at Donington Park. Meanwhile, Filipe Alliot in the back of the field, he's having an engine failure and will now expire on him as he approaches the chicane. And I think that will be both Lewises now not making the end of this race. It's crunch time now as we are on lap 62, as we need only 14 laps left in this race. The top 3 as things stand right now is Senna, Patrese and Damon Hill, who has managed to get 3rd place away from Martin Brundle and now stands on the podium. Meanwhile, Heinz-Harald Frentzen now splits in between 2 Jordans in 11th place as things stand right now, and only 17 cars are now left on track. The only new additions this time being Filipe Alliot and Christian Fittipaldi, who was blowing up earlier, but wasn't as much an obstacle as anyone else thought. As meanwhile, Ayrton Senna now puts a lapped car in between himself and Riccardo Patrese. This could be crucial now. We're now on lap 57, and it's just these two now fighting for the win here. There might be a gap now opening here for Riccardo Patrese as he goes into the hairpin here. Will he go for the gap now on the inside? He will send it up the inside, and he's going to actually make the move stick before they even get out of the corner. And I think this will now settle it as Riccardo Patrese now takes control of the race lead. And I think now, with just a handful of laps left to go, that will be it for the race lead. And indeed it is. Lap 76 now, and Riccardo Patrese is now firmly on his way back to a well-deserved win as he comes to his final chicane now. And that's Rubens Barrichello! What on earth has happened to him? We just got to him now. I don't know what happened there. Did he have a brake failure or something? We have a replay of it now. Let's see here as we race into that. Yes, it is a brake failure. Thankfully, those tyre values there will be able to soften the blow, but I think Rubens Barrichello will be feeling that impact for a while yet. Meanwhile, Riccardo Patrese will be feeling joy as he exits the final corner to take an absolutely fantastic win here at the European Grand Prix to take the lead in the driver's title. A dramatic battle towards the end there, but only one driver could take away the win, and that was Riccardo Patrese with a well-earned drive takes the win away from Ayrton Senna. Damon Hill indeed rounds out the podium in P3, with the points finishers being Martin Brundle, Johnny Herbert, and Gerhard Berger, JJ Leno just outside the points-paying positions. Only 15 drivers in the end actually took the checkered flag. The two additional drivers this time from when we last had the race classifications up were both photos of Eric Bernard and Thierry Boutsen in the end. One from gearbox and one from engine-related failures, but thankfully both Peugeots actually made it to the end and didn't have a fuel issue, so maybe they're sorting that stuff out. The fastest lap in the end did indeed go to Riccardo Patrese for the second time this season. A 108.5 sees a Williams driver, but it's the fastest time of anyone else out there, because that is exactly what a fastest lap is supposed to mean. Here are the driver standings in the meantime. Riccardo Patrese now draws equal on points with Ayrton Senna, but has the upper hand due to having 2 wins compared to the Brazilians' 1. With Damon Hill though is only 4 points behind them, so it's all to play for the top 3 in the driver standings. Similarly, looking at the team standings, it's Williams now who have an advantage over McLaren by 11 points. So Johnny Herbert now will have a chip on his shoulder to prove that he can help McLaren take the top spot back from Williams in the team's battle. Unfortunately, no new constructors actually joined the point scorers this time around, but that will wrap things up here at the European Grand Prix at Donington Park. Next time out will be round 4 of the championship, and we're in the heart of Italy at San Marino for the 1994 San Marino Grand Prix. Tune in 2 weeks' time to see how that race will go, and until next time, take it easy.